Welcome to Two Creators and a Microphone, a podcast where we get on the mic and have candid conversations about tech, video production, gear, and living the creative lifestyle. I'm Desiree.
And I'm Basil.
And this is episode 5.
Okay, so this episode is on the recap of NAB. But before we get into NAB and all this stuff, tech, we always talk about like anything that we purchased or anything that we recently owned. I sadly have nothing to report, which is actually great. That means I didn't spend any money. What about you, Desiree? Bought anything lately?
I did buy a few things. I bought a new suitcase.
Okay.
For...
All right, hold that. You're going away. But before we say where you're going, what suitcase you bought?
I bought a Samsonite little carry-on suitcase. I think it was like a 22-inch, the spinny ones that has like the hard case, because I actually, how many months ago that we went to Virginia and North Carolina for a trip, when I went to pull out my carry-on for those trips, since we live in humid Miami, the wheels on the carry-on suitcase that I had, I had like about 6 wheels on this suitcase because it was one that you can pull like a normal suitcase, but then when you get onto the plane and you go down the aisle, you can turn it and it had wheels on either side, so you could roll it, you know how, and easily roll it instead of trying to, push it through and then bumping into everything. So it was like a multifunctional suitcase that I had, and I love it. But those side wheels were made out of plastic, and with the humidity and all that stuff, they pretty much corroded and fell apart. So the only wheels that work are the back wheels, which are like the same as like inline skate wheels.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I think it's time to buy a new carry-on, especially for my upcoming trip to Greece in September. So I'm trying to, little by little prepare for this trip. So I was like, okay, it's time to get a carry-on suitcase because I know, well, right now, if I were to use the carry-on I have, it's the wheels just leave a trail of bits and pieces when you roll it. So I'm like, I'm going to be like shedding plastic everywhere I go. It's time to just get a new one.
So is this new one, does it have any tech in it?
Unfortunately, no. But before I bought this suitcase, I was looking into the Away carry-on suitcases, because those have the built-in battery
chargers,
the chargers, the power banks in it. So I priced them, and I'm like, that's a lot for just one carry-on. So I mean, Away is like close to $300 just for like a carry-on. If you want even the bigger ones, it's even more. I mean, I paid $100 for the one I just bought. True, has no tech in it, but at least the wheels are not falling apart.
Yep. So Away, you can get with us and get Desiree a carry-on that she could take with her to Greece and some other upcoming trips.
I could definitely try it out for my trip to Greece. I was looking at because there is a competitor to them called Monos. Same concept, but I don't think they have the built-in power bank. Like, that's pretty much, I think, the big difference. But still, it's almost just as expensive as an Away. And I'm like, why am I paying so much for just one piece of luggage? I can understand if it was like a set, let's say a set of 3, that it was like, the biggest one, a medium size, and then the carry-on. But this is just for one. So I'm like,
I get you. I understand that.
I have other expenses, especially for this trip.
Yeah.
I can't be spending $300 on just a carry-on, even though, I would like the convenience of having a built-in power bank in my suitcase, because they just plug in the cable and that's it. Not you have to look for the power bank in my bag and try to pull it out and try to hold everything while you're trying to board a plane.
Definitely understand it, because I'm definitely one for my Pelican case when I'm traveling. But of course, I would much rather spend a lot of money on my Pelican case, or any case that's going to protect my gear, the gear that I'm going to be using for my work, the gear that earns me money. I want to protect that. That's like my insurance. But for my clothing, I don't know if I want to spend all that money. A power bank, I got one in my bag or my backpack, and I can use that. But it's definitely very convenient if you're waiting on the next flight, you don't have a seat, you're traveling, and you could just plug everything into that. But yeah, I don't know if I would spend that money on that one. But it is some nice tech, though.
Exactly.
For
I mean,
sure.
I considered it, but I was like, it's just like I felt like I needed more. Maybe another, one of those even smaller carry-ons. Maybe if it was two of those for that price, different story. But
Yeah.
just a little bit too much, I think, for what you get in return.
Alrighty. So nothing techie. What else did you buy besides that?
Yeah, I bought some other luggage, little travel accessories for the trip, but I also bought what's called replica surfaces. Replica surfaces is the name of the company, and basically it's if you do a lot of product photography or even food photography where you need a little setup. So it's pretty much backdrops, but they're square,
Uh-huh.
and you could buy them in different textures and colors and things like that. So what they do is you buy the boards, but there's a system to it that pretty much sits on a like a speaker stand type tripod. So it's a little bit chunkier, and
Uh-huh.
it has wheels, and then it has a platform where you could put let's say if you're going to do an overhead photography shot,
Yeah.
you have the background on the platform, and it has like handlebars, so you could wheel it around. So if you're looking for the light, you could wheel it to a window and things like that, and and it has slots built in it, so you could stand the boards upright as well. And I
Pretty
think it
nice.
even may come with like some boards that if you want to block the light on a certain angle, you could do that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And because I bought this, because I used to have a filing cabinet in the office that I'm in right now, and we actually moved that filing cabinet out of the room into another room. So now I have space. And I'm like, what can I do with this space
What can I fill
besides?
this up with?
Because right now I have my A7S III like in a cage set up on the tripod on wheels. So
Uh-huh.
now I have the tripod actually is parked there with the whole camera set up there. So I was like, okay, I like this because now it's not in the way, because I used to have to put it in front of the filing cabinet, so it was always in the way. But now I was like, since I have the tripod on wheels, I could always just move it out of the way whenever I need to do, let's say, a product shot or some B-roll of like something small. I was like, I'm gonna get this because this is technically a mobile photo studio,
Pretty
and
much.
you could collapse it, you could take it with you to places. So I thought this would be a perfect thing to have set up, and then if I need space, I could just take it apart and store it away. The tripod folds up, the backboards you could just line them up. They have like a carry case, but I didn't get that. But I figured, I could do that. Then I could do a lot of, because I wanted to do for some upcoming review videos I have on my channel, I wanted to do some nice B-roll shots, but it was like I didn't have a surface to actually film it. That wasn't my desk. Then my desk already has a lot of things on it. I'm like, I need something that's just clear and with a nice backdrop. So I was like, I could do this, and then if I ever have to take it anywhere, I could, just throw it in my car and just take it.
Take it with you.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on, let's go on to the big NAB 2023 that's finished now, and we're going to be doing some wrap up of all the products. Actually, let me correct, not all the products. We're going to do a wrap up of the products that we liked, that we picked.
Right.
I was not so excited about NAB this year. Excited to see it, but I'm talking about, I didn't think there was a lot of release that caught my eye. I don't know how anybody else feel, but that's how I felt. But there are some noticeable ones that we're going to talk about. So I'll let you go first on that one.
So yeah, we pretty much broke these up into different categories for our favorites. So we're going to start off with the first one, which is the camera category. Now, there weren't really any new camera
No,
releases that
no.
were announced, but there were a few camera adjacent announcements. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So the first one we have, which was actually announced right before NAB, so it wasn't really an NAB announcement, but people, I think, at NAB were able to see it in person, which was the DJI Inspire 3.
Yes. Inspire 3, the top of the line drone from DJI. Long awaited. It's been a decade since they released the Inspire 2 to the Inspire 3. So it was long overdue. I know I have friends who just specialize in drone work. Shout out to Anthony Keene. And he was super excited. And I was excited to see the video of it and all the features that they finally put in this big drone that other smaller drones had it. Like all the little tiny, the Mini and Mini Pro and the DJI Cinema 3 had all these different sensors. And now they put them in the Inspire 3. And of course, Inspire 3 now has, it always did have the better camera. So I think it was, it's a great step up. I don't know if the price stepped up with that, because that's another thing everybody was talking about. Yeah, it came out and they were thinking, like 9 or 10,000, but it came out at $1,650, and I think each battery is $350. Don't quote me on that one, but and it takes 2 batteries to fly this thing, and it's still 25 minutes of flight time, which you probably wouldn't push it all the way to 25. So it'll cost you, if you want to have your drone out for a day, you're probably gonna have to get let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, about 8 batteries. So what's
Wow.
that?
That's, a few thousand.
Yeah.
just for batteries alone. This is not like the drone itself. That's, which is crazy because, sometimes, and then if something happens to the battery, that's already another cost, if they swell or anything like that batteries, especially if they're faulty batteries, which hopefully for that price, you don't get a faulty battery.
Yeah. So I haven't heard any problems with Inspire 2s, but definitely if you're going to be, this is not a drone that I'm going to be using. It's out of my league for the kind of work that I do. But definitely, as soon as I saw that price tag, I was like, you better get good insurance.
Oh, yeah.
You better get good insurance for all of this stuff. And so I'm interested to see, some of the footage that I'm sure my friends are going to send me some footage of what they shot. But seeing it from online, it's spectacular, And it was a cool feature I did like with that. A lot of times, when you go to a client and you say, hey, I have, Inspire 2, Inspire 3, the price tag is going to go up because the image quality, the drone, and everything else. And now it's 2 operators instead of 1. One's going to be a pilot, one's going to be the camera op. And there may be times when you take your drone out and you don't have a camera up. Well, this has the ability to focus in on that and still get the shot, like if you're 2-person in some situations. So I thought that was pretty cool that they did that. But
yeah, definitely I won't be getting it. That's just too much for me, too much drone for me. But one I probably would be interested in getting, at least just it's piquing my interest, is the new DJI Mavic 3 Pro.
Oh yeah, just recently released.
Just released.
Yeah, we have been standing on Mavic 2 Pros and like, should we upgrade to the cinema? Should we not? And the cinema price tag was so much, and I was like, and it doesn't have that tripod mode that I super duper like, and that Philip Blohm petitioned, and I signed the petition. Thank you, Mr. Blohm. And he actually invented a little rubber thing on the controller so you can go very smooth. And then somebody copied his design and started selling it. So they brought it back with the Mavic 3 Classic, which that was a drone I was considering. But now with the Pro, I'm like, So DJI dropped 2 new drones in probably within a week, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty much back-to-back announcements. Usually they'll take a little bit more, like if the Inspire was announced, Mavic 3 Pro would have been until a few months from now.
Yeah.
But they seem to have everything lined up, so they're like, you know what, let's just release them, because they know Inspire is only going to be for a specific audience. Mavic 3 Pro would be a little bit more, more general, at least,
Right.
For more content creators, people who are not full-time drone operators on
Right.
movie sets and commercial shoots and things like that.
And
But definitely for what I like it about the new one is, of course, the remote, because like you said, we have the Mavic 2 Pro and we're still on these old remotes that you have to still use your cell phones with.
Yeah.
And we did a shoot, where was it? Back in January for my last vacation.
For your vacation and for your channel, when you were traveling.
Exactly. So the backstory to that was since I was going on that vacation in February, it was on a cruise. And since we are in Miami and the port, it's like 45 minutes away from us, part of my planning was that I wanted a drone shot of the ship I was going to be on.
Okay.
So I called up Basil. I was like, hey, Basil, let's go get drone shots of the cruise ship I'm going to be on a month before I go, because I want to get this, I want to get drone shots of the ship for my film that I'm going to be doing. So we go, we send up the drones in the air. The ship is coming. It's coming. I'm like, yeah. Basil, is telling me, hey, send it across, the other side of the water, kind of where we were, like it was Fisher Island, closer to Fisher Island. And so you can get that side, and then he got the other side. So, we have our bases covered. So, a cruise ship is pretty massive if you've never seen one in person, or at least, floating right by you. So since we had, at least my drone was across the way from me and I had the old remote, the cruise ship, when it passed between, me and the drone, it totally cut off the signal. And I thought, there goes another drone, because I lost my first drone over water too. So I was like, oh no, PTSD is coming back.
You went into low panic mode for a split second. I looked at your face. I was like, oh boy.
I was like, oh no, don't tell me I lose another drone over the water. And I was so careful not to fly this one over the water.
But then you went up to higher altitude and then it regained the signal.
Yeah. So we had to just wait for the ship to pass. So we can at least regain the signal. And then, of course, started to do return to home, because it knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
So that we were able to, get it. At least I got it back on the side where I was on land. So I was like, if it drops, it's on land.
It's going to drop on land.
It's not in the water. And then there goes all the footage again that I just filmed and lost. But Anthony was with us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you and I went to go out there. Everybody heard about it. Anthony was out there already. We met him out there, and then Courtney was like, "I'll take my drone out there." So we had four guys, 4 people with drones out there.
Trying to get the same shot. And Anthony was the only one who was cool, because he had, what was it, the Mavic 3
Cinema, and that thing was up in the air for a long time.
He had that thing up before we even found him.
Yeah.
So he had it up. It stayed up. He didn't lose signal when the cruise ship passed by. So I'm like, yeah, for sure, I need that remote. So I'm like, if I, decide to upgrade or get a new drone, that's the remote I need.
RC controller. Yeah, and then and if you have bright light, you could see better on the RC controller than the cell phone, And then sometimes some people text you during when you're on the phone, so you're always like swiping it out of the way.
Right.
So yeah, the RC controller is definitely included in that. I think the price is all right too. I can't complain about the price for that, but yeah, I'm liking that drone. And since we're talking about drone, I know this was not an NAB 2023, but the state of Florida, if you live in the state of Florida, all government agencies, fire department, police officers, any government agency can no longer use any more Chinese manufactured drones, which would include DJI. So I don't know what they're doing. A lot of times the fire department, they would have infrared on the drones. So before they enter a building, they can go take the drone up, fly on the building, and see where the heat signatures are on the building before they decide to enter it, which is pretty good because the firefighters, you're saving their lives, and you may save the lives of somebody in there because you're knowing how to enter. So now, no more Chinese manufactured drones in the state of Florida for any government agency. That only leaves a couple manufacturers now.
And those aren't, as, I guess, as strong or as, what's the word, like, as suitable for what the DJI drones were were built for and things like that, which, I mean, I get where they're going with this, but the other alternatives are not as robust as the DJI drones. So
there may be an alternative, SkyTel, but it's not going to be that's going to come at a higher price tag for them. So a lot of times these agencies, they already budget in for next year, and now that budget is going to have to go up a lot higher to get the SkyTel. The drones they were really known for the automation, going around trees, going under, and not crashing. Way better to me than the DJI. But in terms of the camera and the cinematography of the lens, they don't have that. But, hey, police officers aren't looking for that. They're looking just to be able to see and acquire, what they want. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, there were some rumors that I think Skydio was behind this whole thing. That was a rumor I heard, that they were, lobbying to get that done. So, of course, since they're the other option, they benefit from it.
Hey, that's a good move, if you ask me.
So, if that is true, I mean, I don't know. That was a rumor I did hear that, they were the ones lobbying for that. So
that's a good strategic move.
if that's true, then you can see why.
Yeah.
But back to NAB.
Yeah.
Our next category is audio.
Okay, one that I'm always excited about. But I'm gonna let you take over on that because you liked something, and I was surprised that you actually liked it. So I'm gonna let you go.
I was surprised you didn't hear that much about it because you're a big fan of some of the features in general that this microphone has. So the Deity Theos digital wireless system. It's a wireless lav system, new one that Deity just announced during NAB, and it has a dual channel receiver. It has what Basil's a big fan of, built-in 32-bit float recorder in the transmitter.
Yes.
You could record all of your savings on the device with a micro SD card. And then it also has the wireless sync time code. So if you have the Deity time code generator, this would work, with it. As well. And it works with the Sidus app. So if you're not familiar, Deity and Aperture are pretty much, I think, owned by the same company. So Aperture uses a Sidus Link app, which is an app that you can control all of your Aperture lights through. So, you could put the color temperature, all of that stuff. You can control it through your mobile phone, especially if you have like your lights suspended high up in the air. You don't have to get up on a ladder and try to manually do it. You could control it through there. So this would work with their Sidus audio app as well. So it would be like you could control all of that through your phone. It has a full color LCD screen, which I am a big fan of because my current wireless microphones do not have that. And it still boggles me why. But it tells you what the levels are, with how the battery, how much battery is left, things like that, which I think is really, really important to know. And then it says it has up to 14 hours of battery life with lithium battery. So this is not one that you would recharge like a DJI mic or like my Saramonic. blink mics, but you can use, these are good for if you're shooting all day and you don't have to wait to recharge your little transmitter because the battery, you can't remove the battery. So this way you can remove the batteries from it. So you can always just swap them out when they die. And it's 14 hours of battery life. So it's not like you're really going to be swapping them out.
So is this other batteries, like, can I use regular like AA batteries, or they have to be lithium ion batteries?
It says with lithium batteries that the battery life will be 14 hours. So, but you can use like your AA batteries or even your rechargeable AA batteries.
See, I'm a big fan of having AA's, and here's why. I do like, because I use the AVX, which is, you can get like 6-7 hours solid out of that. Why I do like having batteries is sometimes when you travel, and if you don't travel internationally, you wouldn't face this. When you're in the U.S., you can always get batteries. You can always find a plug to charge. When you're traveling international, and in some countries where the plug sockets, you have to use the European sockets just to get a charger, or you're down in the islands of the Caribbean, and you don't always have available a store where you can run in there and get batteries after hours, let's say, or then early in the morning like you can in a 7-Eleven and just run and pop in. So I really like having batteries because I can carry a ton of 8 AA batteries. And if I'm running long and I could take a break in between my recording, I can go in there and change it and put it in, and keep going. Because every country have AA. You can always get them somewhere. I was on board the cruise ship and I was running low on one of my wireless audio, and I was like, shoot, I didn't bring my battery back. Well, guess what? On board the ship, we were on a celebrity cruise. They have a store. Went in the store, get some AA's, and continued on with my recording. So I am a big fan still of having the ability to put batteries in instead of, waiting to recharge, because that could be a long time unless you have different packs that are already charged to go. But then those could be a little costly in the initial purchase,
Exactly. Because these are good. The only thing probably, if you're looking for something really small and compact, this is a little bit bigger. It's not going to be as small as the DJI mic, but you do have it has the antennas and things like that. So it's a bigger pack.
It's going to be more on the pro side as well.
Right. But it does have the onboard recorder, which for me is what I'm looking for in my next set of lav mics. It has to have that recording capability, because you never know if you're talking, and if this has happened to me before, that for some reason, I don't know if it was my transmitter or my receiver, something didn't work at 1 second of, a word didn't get recorded onto my external recorder, my Zoom that I was recording into. Luckily, I had repeated, the line a few times, so I was able to get just pull another take from it.
Yeah.
But if you're live, that
happens.
Word is gone. It happens. So at least if you have the capability of recording onto the device itself and the onboard recorder, you have the backup, which is always gonna
you're never gonna lose it, because so many times you get 2 mics. I'm if it's that important to have 2, just to make sure that I don't lose a word of this. But now I could have 1, even if I didn't hear the word. I am positive that it gets picked up onto the the micro SD, the internal recording, and that's like your backup. So hats off to Deity. It's about time the Pro Ranks jumped into that. I was wondering what Sennheiser was doing, and now Deity jumped on it. I've always had my eye out on Deity, and they seem to be the ones shaking up the industry and moving forward with that. And with that said, they have a product which, see, that's what I thought you were gonna get into, and it's called the Deity PR2, and it's a small recorder. Now you and I have that Zoom F2, I believe it is. It's a little onboard recorder that records internally to a card with itself, and this is similar to that with one caveat. It uses AA batteries. Okay. It does 32-bit inside. It also can connect to other devices. It also uses the Sidus software, and it has the ability to do what you call it, what do you call it? Lost for words now. Sync, that I could sync with other devices, audio syncing. So that is that device, and it's pretty small. They don't have a price tag on it. But what I'm thinking when I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, if I have to boom somebody instead of carrying my big recorder, I'm a one-man band. I have my camera set up. If I have to boom somebody, I can connect this to my boom pole and get 32-bit recording directly into that. So, boom. That's what I'm looking at. So I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen with that in terms of if it's going to go on sale. Has a 3.5 millimeter mic line input, stereo locking. It has 24-bit as well as 32-bit float. So, yeah, that is my pick for anything audio.
Yep, definitely. I mean, these are, I believe now it's going to be the standard for everyone to have onboard recording on these wireless labs, and with the 32-bit float recording as well.
And it should be.
It should. Yeah, because I'm like, that's what I'm looking for. If it doesn't have it, I'm not going to even bother getting it, because what's the point?
Right. All right, Desiree. So what else in audio?
Well, Rode made a huge announcement. They announced 7 new products this year at NAB, all for the audio creating content creators.
Yep.
So they released the first one was the Wireless Go 2 firmware update. So if you had the Wireless Go 2, now you have firmware update that's gonna bring it pretty much up to date with the latest features, and it will be compatible with one of their new Rodecaster Pro 2, Rodecaster Pro 2, which is their pretty much their podcasting board, where you could bring all your inputs, your audio inputs in and record podcasts like this one.
Right. So if you have the Wireless 2, what I do like and I appreciate is you bought your Wireless 2 Go, and now new features. They didn't bring out a new product with the features. They're bringing a firmware. So if you have the existing product, now you're going to enjoy all the updated features that they currently have. So that's great, because it makes you feel like now I have a new product without having to go out and buy a new product. And it works with the Procaster. If you have 4 inputs, you're doing a podcast and you need one more, hey, the little wireless video, Wireless Go 2 can now suffice as an additional mic input for that person. So that's pretty good. And they also came up with what's the Streamer X?
Streamer X.
And you and I were just talking about it, because sometimes we have some serious complications when we're trying to, especially on my end, with all this high-end stuff, and I still having trouble doing a podcast. And this, I think, will just make it so easy. 2 HDMI inputs, 1 XLR input, small. 1 little knob that says audio, 1 knob for video, and it actually has little inputs that you could make for sound effects. So I'm here and I could have that on my end. You could have that on your end, attached to both PC and Mac, and stream. There you go.
Right, because we're always trying to figure out how are we trying to get our audio in, but also record to our external recorders, and bring in the camera, the feed from the camera, and bring it all in. And like for my setup, I have 2 separate, my audio is not coming through my camera. So it's like even a more complicated setup. So it's like, we could just bring everything into the Streamer X. Streamer X comes into the computer, and that's it. You can control everything through there.
Then they came out with a pod mic, USB pod mic, which is the same as their other one, which I have. It's a pod microphone, but this one has now the input, so you can go directly USB-C into your computer. You don't have to run it into any other device, and your computer or Mac would actually see it. They also came out with some additional software that record on iOS and Android devices, which should make recording a little better, and actually recording without a mic a little clearer from what I've seen in the thing. And then they came out with a backpack to carry all of this junk with it. I said junk,
Right.
but I just meant all the accessories. So
Yeah, so definitely you can really have your podcasts like set up all in one bag because
So when we're
everything fits
going
in
to-
there.
So NAB 2024, if Rode would send us a backpack, then I would do the show. Okay?
Not an
Live
empty
over there.
backpack, like the backpack
Yes,
filled.
yes.
We don't need an empty backpack. We got plenty of those. We need a whole traveling setup.
Yeah.
But and then also if you had the wireless Go 2 mics, they now came out with a charging case. So it's kind of similar to how DJI has their built-in, charging case. Now this is like a separate accessory you can get, and it will charge your 2 transmitters and your receiver all in the case as well.
Yeah. So I have a friend, shout out to Chad Andreo, photography and videographer. He's a DP here in Miami. And he bought the Rode Wireless 2 Go, and I got the DJI mic. And, he's a techie too, so we were talking, hey, what's the difference? And I was like, I got it because it was smaller. The DJI mic, he got his because the battery life was longer. He can get 2 additional hours for his own. I didn't think it was an issue for me because usually I'm using that for me or for a subject that I'm going to be on for like 10 or 15 minutes. So it's not an issue for the battery life. But yeah, some of the features that I was telling him were in the DJI mic. Now, I can't one up on him because now Rode just leveled the playing field. So kudos to Rode.
Yep.
I should have worn my Rode t-shirt that I got from them. You remember?
Well,
we
we're
got
at
those.
NAB and they want to send us that backpack. We'll wear our Rode t-shirts.
I'll sleep in the t-shirt. Okay. So let's go into the next category of lighting.
Lighting. I think we both agree on the top choice for this one.
Yes.
And that is the Amaran 150C and 300C
Yes.
light.
Yeah, they had a couple other lights that came out as well, but this is a much powerful light. You and I own the 200X, 200D, but this one is RGB, so I can get the color in any color I want, and also controlled by Sidus Link. One point about that Sidus Link that I like. So I wanted my lights up really high one time, and I mounted the light, put them up high, light the subject. Now I needed to change the color, but I can't see because it's so high. So I brought it back down and I changed the color. And I'm like, I'm not going to be doing this. I put it up and I went to the link and I was like, okay, I control both. And I sat back and did it. That is the beauty of having the ability to have the app in your phone. And you can change the color to pretty much anything you want. So yeah, those 2 lights are out and it's awesome. I know I have a friend who's like, oh, I'm not going to get that. I'll use the RGB and the tube lighting. And I think they came up with 2 tube lightings as well.
Yeah, there's the Amaran. Amaran came out with tube lights, and now recently Aperture came out. So both brands have their own tube lights. I remember, I think when the Amaran came out, I think those were the first ones. I was considering getting it. I thought about it because especially for like my social media, I want to make it nice in the background and put colored lights. And right now I was only using the MC Pro, which are the little LED lights that are RGB. Right. And that is not giving me as much color in my background that I would want. So that's when I was considering the tube lights. But I was like, like kind of going back and forth. Do I really need it right now? And stuff. So I kind of held off on it. I said, next time they have a sale, I'll get it. Because I think they put it on sale once and I didn't get it. So I was like, okay, next time Aperture puts on the sale, I'll get it. But now that they announced this one, I was like, I could do a little bit more
Yeah.
with this light versus the tube light. Yeah, the tube light will be, a great accessory too. But now I'm considering this one, and now I'm like, where could I put it? Because right now, like you said, I have my lights all up on Poles in the office. So I was like, oh, well, I could just have it live up on the Pole, have it, shown, pointed to the wall or something like that, and just change the color. And then I just have a new set in the office. So I'm like, this is one I'm definitely considering. I don't know. I haven't done the pre-order yet. I considered doing the pre-order. I looked into it. I was like, let me hold off for a bit. I have other expenses, but this may be one that I do get. If not right now, probably by the end of the year, because I've been looking for colored lights.
And what are the prices on them? Because I think they're pretty affordable. If I'm not mistaken, it was like $349 and $539.
For the 150C, it's $359, and for the 300C is $569. So I was thinking of maybe the 300C.
Yeah. And another thing too is you could still use these as key light if you needed to. Yeah. So.
And it's being released in late May, so you could do a pre-order now, but they won't release them till late May. And the only thing, so some of the good features of it has 9 built-in effects. So I guess similar to like the MC lights, the little LED lights, you have different effects. It's lightweight, and then they have a different, the handles are positioned differently versus like our 200s. Yeah, have just the top handle. This one has 2 side handles, so you could better, control.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
But the only thing is, so it's not weatherproof. So if you're trying to do this outside,
no,
don't do it in the rain. So more for indoors. But a lot of the stuff I do is indoors anyway, so that's not like a big thing for me. But if you are looking for something that you can use both indoors and outdoors, you have to kind of be careful with this one.
And that's with anything outdoors with the rain, especially here in Miami.
Right.
Now, you have some other picks from Aperture. So
along with these lights, they released a new Spotlight SE, which is basically just like an attachment that would go onto the front of the lights. So if you want a color spotlight versus, a wide array of color, this one you could attach it and it will just focus the color on a spot. And they came out with the Light Dome Mini SE, which is another soft box, but just a little bit smaller. I have their Mini Light Dome 2, which I love. It's the one I'm using right now on my 200D.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great because those are smaller, and if you don't have a lot of space to put their lantern attachment, things like that, this is really good. Yeah, it's a little bit more focused, it's more concentrated, but if you don't have the room, this is the one you need to go for.
And these lights are great for traveling if you have small interviews to do, one-on-one interviews, or just, sit-down interviews, and you're traveling. And by traveling, I mean, out of the state, out of the country, like that travel. Because everything, when we start traveling, everything starts adding up. And it's really great to have, I think they have, the one you have is a 45 by 45, and then this one. And so, so that's great. Anything else for audio?
For you lighting?
I'm sorry, for lighting?
My question is, specifically for these Amaran lights, I know because these Amaran is more of the content creator brand for Aperture, so these lights are a little bit less expensive because they're not maybe as doesn't have the same materials as their higher end lights, but even though they're still really good lights. Our 200Ds never came with a case. It was just here's the box. You're not going to carry the box around with you to a shoot. So my question is, have they made a case, or at least have the box as the built-in cases that you can kind of transport them with you, because that was the one thing I remember. I had to sort of find like a mini Pelican type case to put mine if I were to ever travel with them,
Right.
because I'm like,
Right.
I'm not carrying this big
And
box
and that is an
on a shoot.
awesome point. Amaran, Aperture, listen up, folks. We need a bag or case because, yeah, I have. It's a great point you brought up because I have the 200X to 200D, the 60X, and luckily for me, I had these old camera cases, and I put them in there. So carrying them, it's an issue. Now you brought up a point because the Amaran, the 150 and the 300C, they come in a case, but that's a styrofoam case. That's like what the DJI 4 Phantom 4 used to be in, and I never used
Yep.
that. I would use that around, in the yard, but if I was going to be going on a shoot, I wasn't taking that in the case. I was putting that in another more robust case. So, great point. You're bringing out all these great lights, Aperture. We like it. Can we get some cases that we could fit, like this 300 in, the 200s, and maybe the 60Xs, something like that, that's a rolling, lightweight case just to pack our gear in.
Right. Or if
Yes.
it's, sold maybe as an accessory, because I'm looking right now, and the 150C, it does say it comes with kind of like what the 60Xs came with, like
Yeah.
the styrofoam case. But yeah, I mean, great. I could sort of travel with that too, but it's not a Pelican, no.
Well, I'm sorry.
But
You got this. You have the 60X, right?
yes.
Now, when you took that cord out of that case, do you think you could fit that back in the case?
Probably not now, especially that it's been extended and it's
Yes.
wrapping around a
So,
pole right now.
so
But I remember you did tell me that you couldn't get
once
it back in. So
once
what
you
I
take
did,
that out, that's it.
I did take a picture of it before I took it out and unwound it. But I was like, yeah, I probably won't be able to get it back in. But I do
No.
have like this sort of little, it's not a Pelican case per se, but it's a Pelican-like case that I got at the Container Store. So you can, if you did not know, Container Store sells smaller, and they're not going to have like the big ones on wheels or anything like that. But they do have smaller Pelican-like cases, usually around $50 or $60, which is much cheaper price point. But I had to use one of those that I had lying around as like a potential case. I was like, if I were to ever travel,
Yeah.
and that only fits, I think, one. It only fits the 200D. So I would still need another one if I were to, put
Yeah.
either this, this 300C that I want to get, or even the 60X.
Well, that will definitely rearrange my whole travel case right now. Because in my cases, I have one 200X and a 60X. And then the other one, I have a 200D and another 60X. So getting a 300 or 150, I don't know where I'd put that. But, yeah. But I still like your lights. I love them.
Yep. We're using them now.
Yeah. Okay, moving into the next category, which I was so excited. This is a support and accessory category. And this is a product called XO Boom. So that's XO Boom. And it's by Cinema Device. And excited. I don't know what to say. I saw something about this and rumors coming. And they make a support vest that then has an arm to hold the boom pole so that the audio mixer guy don't have to hold the boom. Because I cannot tell you how many times somebody says, a director goes, we're going to do a quick interview here. Just going to be 2 or 3 minutes, 1 or 2 questions. 25 minutes later, you're still holding this boom pole and they're just getting started into this interview. And you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can hold this for much longer. And your arms are shaking, okay? But you're going to hold it anyway. Not to mention, now you can't really master mix because your 2 hands are doing, this is when you're U1, not having a boom operator, but you're the boom operator and the sound mixer in one, which happens a lot. And, so you can't make the fine-tune adjustments because of that. And they made this so You can be walking around like RoboCop looking like, and the boom pole is there, and you don't have to worry about it. Amazing. Just focus on, getting that mic in the right position. And I saw it, and I'm like, if I have to give a star for the most innovative product at NAB 2023, this would be that product. So, boom.
Well, for I guess support and accessories, my pick was Condor Blue. Actually, they released a few things, so I'm pretty much of a big fan of Condor Blue because
Yes,
I
I
have
know.
their cages, because they have, if something is multifunctional, that's it. That's what I want. Like, that's why I look for things to have more than one function, because it makes no sense. Just in life in general, if it has more than one function, I'm gonna get that and throw away the one that only had one function.
Right.
So their camera cages, you have the option, the handles can trigger your recording on your camera. So definitely if you have a Sony or a Panasonic camera, I don't know, I think their handles also work for Canon, not too sure about that. But they have, it's the handle comes with a cable that you just plug into your camera, and you could trigger the start and stop of the recording.
Uh-huh.
So since that's a multifunctional for me, I gravitated towards that. So they came out with another handle. I believe also it triggers, but it also holds your SSD if you're recording externally to a SSD drive. So it can hold it and trigger the recording to it. So it's called the Pro Blade SSD handle for SanDisk USB-C recording.
Looks like I'm going to be adding that to my wish list, because I know the Panasonic is going to be doing a firmware to record to SSD, and I will need it.
Yeah. So definitely that's a handle that I think, would be really good, especially, if you're recording to external, because then it's true. You think about it. You're already adding things to your cage. Now it's like, okay, I'm recording to this SSD drive. Where am I going to put it? Now I got to buy another accessory to screw onto the side of the camera,
Right.
to the cage, to hold now this new hard drive. And believe me, I bought one. I bought it just in case, or it actually works also with power banks too. So if I had to, charge, transmit the receiver, a wireless receiver, I could just attach it to the cage and it could just charge there. But this is kind of like, this is the 3 functions now. It's, it's holding your camera, it's recording, and it's holding your hard drive.
Right.
So that was one of the few releases they have. They also released a new cage system for the Sony FX6. It's a fully modular cage system. Same thing, it has the, trigger handle and things like that. So if you have a FX6, you can now have a Condor Blue cage. Because I think, I don't know, it took them a while to get that one up. Because sometimes, you see other brands already coming out with the cages as soon as the camera is announced. So,
yeah.
But that's what I like about Condor Blue. I guess they're taking their time to kind of perfect it. Because even when the GH6 for the Panasonic came out, they didn't have a cage announcement until months later. It wasn't announced. So
yeah, I know. But by that time, I already sold my GH6. All right, going into the last category of software updates. I really wasn't looking for any software, but I know you have some updates for us.
Yes, so Adobe announced several updates at NAB, but the one I'm going to be focusing on is their latest update for Premiere Pro. Now includes text-based editing. So there's been, all these AI boom of these sites where you can, edit videos now with just captioning the video and then editing it by deleting the words that, from the captions, and it cuts it based on how you tell it which words to keep and which ones to delete. So now you don't really need to go, if you are a Premiere Pro user, you don't have to go out to another website. You could just now do it with their latest firmware update. Their latest update in Premiere. So basically, what the demo was you bring in your raw video footage. So let's say you're recording, and the person did few takes, they messed up, so they started it again and things like that. So it kind of detects when you start and stop, or if you mess up and things like that. So you could just tell it, okay, transcribe the whole thing, mistakes and all.
Right.
And you just go in and read it, and just just select it and hit the delete button. You're just deleting the words, and it's making the cuts from it.
Right.
So it's now, without, you don't need to really watch it as much or take as much time, going through and going, okay, oh no, they messed up.
Yeah,
you just have
listen.
an overview of it and just go from there.
This would be great for producers who sit down and, and especially in the broadcast room where they're cutting a story, they can just go and cut the text. And then when the editor comes in, I already know what is needed because it's all there. Man, and then it's going to save time. Get the story out faster.
I know I updated my Premiere Pro, so definitely the next video for my YouTube channel, I'm going to be testing that out to see, because there are so many times that I've, messed up and I started again and again and again. Now I could just go find where I actually didn't mess up and just go, okay, here, delete everything before that, because that takes a lot of time, because I'm like going through the whole thing. Oh, nope. I thought that was a good take. Nope. I messed up at the end. Let me go back and find another take.
All right.
So definitely, it's good. And Adobe at least is staying on top of all of these AI things, because they know all these websites are going to come and pull you. They're already trying to pull you away from using Premiere Pro or Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve. They want you to go and use their, pay a monthly fee to use their editing software and things like that, and then trying to entice you with, oh, well, you don't need editing experience. If you know how to delete, a paragraph, a text paragraph, you could edit a video now.
And there's an AI software that I was told you I was going to be talking about, but when you delete the text, or let's say somebody made a or up, it corrects it with the mouth so that you don't see it. So let's say I was talking and I was turning my head. So over here at this point when I said something, and then here I said something else, they, like a morph cut, like how morph cut does inside Adobe Premiere, it does that, but really seamlessly. So when you're finished just editing the text, it's done. So yeah, it's they're targeting all the dominant NLEs. So I guess Adobe has always been working, and I know they're trying to do it a lot better. And I know you and I have talked about Adobe, because it always seems like when I am at my biggest project is when I have a crash or an update occurs, and then it just changes the whole project. And I've been playing around with DaVinci Resolve because I see features in that Adobe didn't have. But Adobe's been around. There's still the only thing I don't like is that monthly thing. I'd rather you just hit me over the head right up. I don't care. It's 1,000, 1,200. Just get it off and not have to deal with it, because I know I'm drifting here, but I went away and I didn't have internet access, and it wasn't even the end of the month for the subscription, and I couldn't open my Adobe software to work. And I used my friend's software. So, stuff like that. If I was that was my own personal project, but had it been a client's project that I needed to work on, I was going to be screwed. So, fix it, Adobe. I know you can.
And also Adobe pretty much announced that, okay, so their Firefly, we talked about it a few episodes ago. They're actually going to do it for video as well, so that you would be able to make AI videos using Adobe Firefly. That's going to be coming down the line, eventually. But it was announced that they're going to be, you're going to be able to do the same thing that you could do now on the beta version of Firefly with text to image or text to art, things like that. It's going to be text to video. And they kind of showed like a little preview of it. But that's going to be really, really cool, because then there's already websites out there that are doing that.
Yeah.
That you could just type in and say, hey, I need a video of, someone walking down, by a mountain, and then it generates it. So now Adobe Firefly will be able to eventually do that. So it's like, oh, you think, let me go out to this website because Adobe can't do it. Well, they're working on it. It'll just be a matter of time.
What I'm hearing is someone's losing their job. All lost it already.
Yeah. Once they, fix all the glitches.
That's it. So,
yep.
Yeah, but I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't excited. I was excited for the show, but there wasn't a lot of exciting items like there used to be. I think
also, we were just listening to it. We weren't there in person. I think it would be a different experience.
If we're there, yeah.
If we're there in person, getting to see the things, talking to the people as well. It's a different thing.
Yeah,
but
you're right. You're right about that.
It's, maybe next year we'll be there. Who knows?
No, we're gonna be there next year. It's not no maybe. We're gonna be there next year for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna be there. We're gonna bring the show with us to NAB in person.
Look what you're promising now. I want to just look at the gear. I don't know if I want to do a show while I'm out there. Anyway, we'll see.
We'll see. We got a year.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our show.
Yes. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in. And that is our episode for today. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your preferred podcast platform or on our YouTube channel and enable notifications so that you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, we would also love it if you could rate this podcast and leave us a review on your listening app of choice. It only takes a few minutes, and it will help us improve the show and reach new listeners. And be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram at 2 Creators and a Microphone, and on TikTok, it's at 2 Creators and a Mic. Thanks again for listening, and we are 2 Creators dropping the mic.